Okay. Great. Do we have anybody on Zoom today? No. We've got somebody in the audience. Yay. Maybe it's. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. And Rachel, would you like to call a roll?
Well,
Here.
okay. Here,
He's
Yes.
here.
Scott Reese,
Here.
Dan Mulder,
Here.
Sarah McLean, Jamie Melfi. Here. We are missing Sophia. She, I believe, is working on some after school project. She's been pretty busy. And Maggie apologizes, something came up last minute. Her car appointment ran over, so she will not be here as well.
Good. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? Any changes or? Would somebody like to make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Rachel, board communications, we've got a couple.
Yeah, we do. So I had a couple phone calls. Let me pass the minutes. One was from Nancy and she lives on Lake Street. And she had comments in regards to the removal of brush at Harborview Park, the green space next to the pickleball courts there. More specifically, she had comments about the lilac bush that was taken out. It was kind of entangled in that brush. There was a lilac bush that had been there for quite some time. And you can see her correspondence about her feelings about moving forward with the park improvements, things like that. I did tell her that our plan was to put, more trees, more things in the park. That just wasn't a suitable space for those things if we were to move forward. We had discussed it for quite some time.
Lilacs do not transplant well.
Yeah, so, and that was discussed, transplanting it, and we had deemed that it may die if we were to transplant it. Whether that's true, I can't say. We didn't try it. We know for the future now that maybe we can try and transplant plants when we can within parks, but yeah. So.
Good. And was there another one as well?
It's just a phone call. Let me see if I put her name.
Mary Sue Forney.
Yeah, so Mary Sue Forney,
Full transparency, that's my wife.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, she was the second.
Don't take any shots.
Yeah, it was a phone call. It wasn't an email or attached, I believe. Or no, she had contacted Victor and then Victor contacted me through email. And she had mentioned just a concern about having new growth at Harborview Park, and kind of asking what our future plans and why things, which is fair. We took out about 5 trees and that brush in the center. And I know DPW had planned on taking out the trees along the pickleball, those pine trees, which was actually part of the plan when they took out those pine trees along M119. That was all kind of the same project. So it was a lot of change abruptly because DPW did it on a 60-degree day in February, which no one expected. So we can discuss whether we want that as an agenda item on a future meeting to discuss what we should do in the spring.
With that part of the park only, we're not talking about the trees though, right?
I think the whole park.
Yeah.
It's on the our capital improvement plan for 2025.
Well, when the trees go back to tree,
They would, but first we want to come up with a plan for the park, I think.
and then go back to tree. board after
Yeah,
that.
I did send a note to Victor and Lucas and Rachel asking whether we could just tap the brakes on removing those other trees until, maybe we get the trees on 119 just so it doesn't look so stark up there, because it is going to be shocking and I know we're going to get a lot of feedback. So I haven't heard anything back on what they think.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Lucas.
Pardon?
We're gonna talk to Lucas,
Yeah.
So if we want to make a motion to add it to our next meeting to discuss it.
Do we need a motion or?
Probably not. We can add it to the next month's agenda to discuss kind of.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Bruce, do you have any comments on it?
So there are more trees coming down?
So the pine trees along the pickleball courts. Those on the park side would plan to come down. And that was part of when they took down the trees along M119. They were just gonna turn that corner to the pine needles fall on the pickleball courts. But as Dan said, he's kind of discussed holding off on that till there are more planting, so it doesn't look like she said, so barren, if you will.
They're all kind of,
One of the pine trees fell this winter too.
And that's one of the reasons DPW took down the other ones while they were there, and all the stumps will be removed. Lucas said he was just waiting to make sure when they remove the stumps, they remove everything they need to remove. Since they planned on taking a few more down.
we are planning on putting some more trees back in.
Yeah.
Those are sort of, you know, on the downside of their life cycle, and some of them look like they have this needle cast disease, which is not good. It spreads through the spruce trees.
Yeah,
So I think they will come out eventually, but you know, I don't think we need to do it right this minute.
so what are the plans, I mean, in terms of, or is there a plan to try and bring trees back to the park?
Yeah, we're gonna
Yes.
talk next month. Why don't you come next month too?
Yeah.
Next month,
It'll be an
Right,
actual
yeah.
agenda item,
oh,
so it'll be a
Okay,
full,
I get it.
full discussion for the park plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
and now, including timing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we actually have money budgeted in the city capital improvements budget for next year for improvements at the park. And we're looking at trees, and we did want to open up that view. It's just so fabulous. There's been some other talk about possibly like a picnic shelter for you know, little league picnics or family reunion picnics kind of thing. So we've got a lot to talk about still.
Okay, the whole comment still.
Yes.
Yeah.
But feel
Yeah,
free
next
to, where you're at, can email me at any time,
Okay,
comments for the future meeting. Okay,
Glad you came today though.
well, I guess we can consider that public comment then.
Any other comments that you'd like to bring up about parks?
Good.
no, that's
Okay.
my
Okay.
main, because it's living next to it, you know, it just, like they have trees absorb the sound and,
All of that.
visual. And is the intent though to have, I'm sorry, I know this is a topic for next
Okay.
time, is it intended to be open since you're gonna have, talk about shelter, or is there?
The view open, there probably will be some type of tree buffer between the pickleball courts and the park.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
the idea would be, what we've discussed is a small picnic shelter closer to the parking lot side in the pickleball corner, not to the opening where like the flag is and things like that. And then having a small walking path that goes around the park. And then we would have still a buffer along the pickleball courts, trees.
Maybe a
Yeah.
buffer between the parking lot and the
Yeah.
park too.
Mhm.
Oh, between the, oh, okay,
Yeah.
in parking lot.
Where they've
That's
already
a
come
good
down.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that can.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's definitely not to have the park empty. That's not the intent.
Anything about, because, you know, it's such a great view, right? So, I mean, because we go over there and sit on the benches a lot. So I don't know if there's any plan for that type of utilization, like benches or.
There actually,
Absolutely.
we do have a donor interested in donating a bench to that park, so we'll be having some new benches.
Yeah, for down.
You can too.
We're working on trees on point,
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, is your home on Hoyt, actually?
on the corner,
Yeah.
Pine and White. It's a great,
On
it's a
Hoyt,
great one.
okay, all right.
Well,
On the
a lot,
I know
North-
right where you live, yeah.
Northwestern corner is where you are, north?
South.
Southwest, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
a little one.
Just gonna write that for our notes, we have that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And moving on to more landscaping stuff.
Let me bring it up.
Yep.
There we go.
I've been busy at work, coming up with some ideas for landscaping for the skate park, just as background. Or do you want to give background, Rachel?
No, you can, it's fine.
Okay, yep. So, you know, we finished the park up last fall and the grading, is somewhat done. I think they're gonna bring in more dirt. Might be a little berm at the corner for viewing the fireworks kind of thing. And then, our thought is to not go crazy with a bunch of landscaping, just to keep it pretty simple. So, here's the plan.
Just printed it for you all. It's not the easiest to read, but you have the. there's a
I
pointer
actually have
here,
a
too.
color and I went back over to Kathy's book and he closed. But,
That's right. Where'd it go? Scott, do you have a pointer?
Yes,
Oh, we give it to Stan.
I don't know if I want to share it.
Who's doing these landscapes?
Oh, the
We're
power.
gonna have to quote it out. We'll have to read quotes. We won't have to seal it though. It won't be that.
So you're still taking quotes?
Okay, so just to orient, here's 119 down here, and then, there's the building up here. Pickleball courts, of course, and Bay Bluffs over here. So this is pretty much the exact footprint of what went in with the skate park. There's kind of a bowl here, and then this is a grassy area in the middle. We just wanted to keep it kind of simple. The biggest thing, that I think is our responsibility as the Parks Board is to make it safe for people that come visit there. We had some thoughts about, like trying to just do some hedging or something along here, because there have been numerous instances of kids like going off the skate park and, run away skateboard or whatever. And we're gonna talk about this today, but I think Rachel and I at least have come down to the thought that we really should have a fence there, that's more important than, aesthetics. So I guess maybe that's the first thing we could talk about. Around the pickleball courts here, we have, I think it's an 8-foot high, maybe 10-foot high, chain link fence. And I think we're gonna paint it this summer, paint it black, so it looks a little bit more up to date and modern. Anybody that wants to help is welcome to join us. Let's see, so we were thinking this fence here, we wanna be somewhat in keeping with the black chain link, should be black, so, chain link is chain link. So do you have the picture of the, cast aluminum fence? Somewhere there, so, yeah,
How tall are you thinking?
4 feet.
4 feet?
It'd be like the pool fence, like around the Harbor Club, the vertical.
Oh, okay.
Aluminum
yeah,
type, yeah.
Very
Right.
simple, not ornate.
And it wouldn't be the entire, it wouldn't have to be the entire length. I can say we can discuss that, but it could be, there are only like a few certain points where a skateboard could go off. So it's not gonna be
Right.
industrial.
So there's an email that I sent to Rachel that has pictures, if you can find it, Rachel. So what we considered was a split rail fence, thinking maybe that is a little rustic looking with this new modern concrete skate park.
I have it right
And-
here.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, so something like that.
This is also something DPW can install.
Mhm.
Harbor fence is out until the fall for
Right.
installations, late summer,
They're
fall.
booked.
Do they have product though? Do they have fencing?
Yeah,
They're
they,
Tractor Supply.
Okay,
yeah, our Lowe's,
okay.
it's pretty basic.
Split rail fence, is another option, as I said, I think those are the main things we considered, and then just black chain link. It doesn't seem like quite it either, so, I guess our recommendation right now would be the cast aluminum. Just another thing to point out, the trees that went in along the front of, Bay Bluffs there along 119, to replace the pine trees that came down, those are gonna be continued along in the right of way here. So, I've got pictures we'll look at in a minute, but it's a combination of, black tupelo, crab apples, and cedars. So whatever fence we put in will have kind of a softening effect from 119. All right, then, how about for the next thing we talk about is the hardscape. So, we wanted to have like some type of a plaza patio area up by the building. So along the top here, there's that service road. Anybody's been up there, you know what I'm talking about. The entries to the building are here. This is a garage door, and then there's another one on this side. And so, we thought, let's do kind of interesting shaped patio. These are our picnic tables, the green ones kind of drawn to scale. And then some benches too for people that maybe come over from Bay Bluffs and just want to sit and watch for a while. So this will be concrete, and John Cups was talking to us about a swirl pattern that gives you a change in texture. So where the skate park does adjoin the patio, there'll be a difference in texture, so it just doesn't turn into one giant skate park, with the patio included. We talked a little bit about exposed aggregate, but he said that's really tough on feet. And could get beat up kind of bad with skateboards going over it. Then we have lawn everywhere else, kind of winds in and out of these beds. This will be lawn in the middle here, and then lawn over here. So all of this expansive concrete will be surrounded with green, be it grass or be it landscape beds. So we can go through the plants real quick. I've got some pictures for you. This is just a simple hedge to separate, boxwood hedge to separate the pickleball courts from the skate park area. And then maybe we'll, let me point out trees first, Rachel. So within the skate park, Nate, who is up there all the time, was saying shade would be really good. So we've got a couple trees in the island here and another one over here. And then backing up a little bit, you know, this whole Harbor Way, Wheelway extension, the Little Traverse Wheelway. It's meant to come down in this little skinny space right here between, this is the driveway for Bay Bluffs and the skate park. And then come down to 119 and then go down the hill from there. So all of this stuff on this side of the park will be like a phase 2 or 3 thing until we find out for sure what's happening with that. So these trees would be down the road. These trees are part of the 119 project and will come out of city budget instead of out of parks budget. Maybe some pots out here with some few annuals, but not to go crazy on that. These are just some little beds that are cut out. If you go up there and look, you know, they have all of these like big features, you know, where the kids go up and down. And so from the outside, it doesn't look that good. You just have like this flat expanse or elevation of whatever that raised feature is. So there's a feature here, here, wherever you see beds. This whole area is raised up actually, just to kind of soften that concrete expanse on the side. And then site furniture, I think we've got some stuff we can move up in the short term once this is done, but then hopefully we'll have our parks wish list and be able to make some of this happen. So we've got
the budget here, yeah.
yeah, yep. So we've got picnic tables along here, and then a few out here. And just some benches over here, people that just want to sit. Yes, sir.
What isolates the park from Bay Bluffs?
There's no fence or anything like that, if that's what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah. So this, that's why we have the hedge here. So this is flat. These are areas where we're not anticipating people are gonna fly off. Where you see the stuff around the outside, that's where it could be more of an issue. Do you have some concern about that or?
people from Bay Bluffs, if they wanna come into the park, they have to go over by the entrance by the building.
Yeah, I think they would come around, they have a sidewalk, which I don't have shown, and they usually come up this way. And they either go to Harborview Park over here. But yeah, then they could just come and sit in benches here, or they could come into the patio area. So I don't think they'd necessarily come across the driveway to get there. I think they'd more come up this way.
Yeah,
Unless you think otherwise.
most of the nurses take the residents right past that drive, because that was one of the points we had with Harborview putting a walkway in, is they stop right there at Harborview, snap a picture from that sidewalk. It's not a great picture, because you're not really near that edge where the flagpole is. Kind of
They're
cuts
a
a
little
little bit
bit of
short.
distance away, actually,
Mhm.
Bay Bluffs a little bit of a
Yeah.
distance.
But I know they definitely use the Little League paths all through those.
They have a fenced, I've had 2 parents there, they've had a fenced enclosed area that comes, it has a gate also, and it comes out of that west side of the building, so typically, I think
Over here.
anybody who's like a wheelchair bound resident would be coming out of the west side and maybe, you know, maybe going through their fence to the back, more so than front. And there are not a whole lot of ambulatory people there.
Yeah, you will not see that many people. I coached 5 years at the ballpark and I never saw anybody come from Bay Bluffs.
I see
Rachel
it
and I
all the
saw
time,
people, we saw people all the time. when we were up there.
Really?
like every day. It's nice. I
I
see
depends on
nurses.
who's there.
I know the nurses by name.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I see them so much.
And it may be that they've got a change in kind of philosophy about getting
Yeah.
people outside. I certainly took my parents
Cause I
outside.
know when we spoke to the director about this project, I mean, of Bay Bluffs, that was the intent, was to make it more generational, multi-generational, and not just for younger kids, and then so people could come and sit and watch, you know, even if it's like
And the
chaos.
beauty of this is ADA acceptable. So,
That's great.
yeah, you can come in with a wheelchair through all of it.
Sarah, did you have a
You know
comment?
what, guys, just FYI, normally, if boards, you know, there's periods for, public comment. But we're very relaxed here, so feel free, but you could just state your name for the record, right, Rachel?
I think
Yeah.
Sarah had a comment.
Yeah, do you want to keep talking about this now, or do you want us to give comments, or what is your thought?
Let's finish looking at
Okay.
pictures and then we can come back to the
Okay.
drawing. Shall we do that?
Guys, I have some things to add.
Sure. Still, what we have yet to figure out is, the sense is that we're gonna need an attendant there. So we don't know how much and don't know exactly what they're gonna be doing. They should not be babysitting kids, that's one thing. But, just for safety reasons, if nothing else. And then, it's sort of yet to see how parking is gonna go up there. I think they've been parking at Bay Bluffs and places where they shouldn't park. And I was having this thought, that this is way off topic here, but wouldn't that be great to have a crosswalk where they could park across the street? Like with that flashing blinker or something like that. Anyways, let's get back on topic. And do you wanna go to the next slide, Rachel? So this is the plant palette. These are the little boxwoods that'll go between the pickleball courts and the patio area. Most of these are native plants with some pops of color that may or may not be native. They're all native to the US anyways. Dwarf fountain grass looks great in all seasons. Can't do anything to it to hurt it. You can walk on it. So I try to pick tough things. Coneflower is great. This is a native. This is a newer introduction and it's just a bright pop of color. Russian sage, this is a smaller one that won't get floppy like some of the original ones do. Rachel? I think we're gonna have to also discuss, you know, each park we work on, we're ending up with more perennials and bushes. And so we've seen at Marina Park that it's the board members out there pulling weeds. So we're gonna need to, you know, get our volunteers engaged. This is a wonderful ground cover plant that's native, Grolos fragrance sumac. Little white flower in the spring and then glossy green leaves and then just brilliant fall color. And this goes around that kind of bowl area that points out towards 119. That's raised up, so that would not be an area that would be easy to mow. So this is a taller grass. This is what we have at Marina Park. This will be along the fence there. And this is the area where we've identified the biggest problem with scooters and skateboards going off. So it's a little bit bigger so that kids will hit these before they hit the fence, which is better than hitting the road. This is a wonderful, wonderful native shrub, Bailey's compact viburnum. This will get to be 3 to 4 feet. You can let it get a little bigger if you want. Beautiful spring flower, red berries under the summer, and then beautiful red fall color. And this was one that we may wait on because it may be where the wheelway is going. Butterfly weed, this isn't a very great picture. It's bright orange. And we've had this idea that wouldn't it be nice if we had like milkweed or butterfly weed at all of the parks? So we have all of these monarch stops in Harbor Springs. That's Rachel's idea. And this is a newer introduction, Spirea. So this stays pretty small. You know, you could keep it at 2 feet, but maybe 3 feet, something like that. Flowers almost all summer. This is a reblooming one. Easy as can be, tough as nails. Big pop of color. These are the 2 trees in the middle, in the island in the middle. native tree. And both of these trees were selected for not having invasive roots that would get underneath the skate park and want to buckle that concrete. Yep.
How tall do they get?
These would be more like a small to medium shade trees. So I'm gonna say 30 feet, something like that. But it'll give the kids some shade out there. Just break up the concrete a little bit. Not literally. This is another tree that's just beautiful. This is the Japanese tree lilac. It blooms in the summer, which is a little different time than most trees bloom. And then gets really nice fall color. And then I thought you might just be interested in the trees that are on 119. This is native to Michigan, the black tupelo, also known as the black gum. This one is a little smaller in scale, brilliant red fall color. This is a cedar, and we've had no browsing from the deer this winter, so knock on wood with that. But yeah, just so there's something out there that's green, and there was some thought that maybe Babe Bluffs would want to put Christmas lights on them at some point. This is the prairie fire crab that kind of fits in with our color palette for the skate park. Really dark, bright pink, late spring, early summer. Persisting red berries that the birds love that hold on all through winter, and then kind of a cool fall color. Okay, should we open it up for these guys
Oh, I
first?
go over what I,
Okay.
and then we can open it
Yeah.
for board
Okay.
discussion, and then we'll,
Mhm.
is that okay?
Yeah.
I have some questions. Is this the right time to ask them or you wanna?
Sure,
Let
go
me,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
The trees in the park, they're deciduous, right?
Mhm.
So I'm kind of worried about that in the park and the maintenance of the leaves. And then also the trees being in the park and kids skating into them.
So that's, okay, so that's part of my
Okay,
part here,
okay,
so,
good.
okay. So first, let me start that we have a budget of $40,000 approximately to play with, and that is coming out of that $500,000 anonymous donation we received. The skate park windows are not going to come out of that donation. That'll be general fund money, because that's been on the CIP list for forever, so the city's gonna pay for that. So we had, if we're wondering why these are boxwoods, we had them as flowering bushes, but we had a fear about birds liking the berries that we had chosen, so the boxwoods made sense. The only maintenance of boxwoods, we have to burlap them, but we do that down in Marina Park anyway. DPW does that every fall. The other thing we discussed with the fence, so the points in the parks that are the highest, I don't wanna say concern, where potentially a board could go out onto the walkway and a young child could run after it, would be here, approximately here, and approximately here. So DPW and I were thinking they can install the fence from this point to this point. So that's something we need to discuss tonight. So the first thing we need to discuss is we want the fence to go from here, where this black fence will end, all the way down to make it fluid. Or do we want as least fence as possible and to go near and here? That's an answer I need tonight.
I think it should go all the way down.
And then, so then, other thing, that Dana touched on, that's correct, is this. And this would likely be a phase 2. We're gonna add more infill here, because the idea is, Ben from Evergreen, if we build this up and add a drain here, because we can't put into the drainage system that Evergreen already put in, we promised them we wouldn't. It'll flow the water across, it'll go to the sewage drain, and it'll drain out towards M119. That's,
The way the elevations work, the skate park is actually higher than this whole area here.
so it should drain down and then out, and then the pickleball has its own drain system that also meets that, and that's from the ice rink. Okay, what else? The trees, I have the same concerns, that Karen has, just about the leaves falling and the maintenance associated with them. I think that's a really good question we need to ask the actual skateboarders, because they're the ones using it.
Do you
And
think though, I was thinking the skate park would probably need to be blown out every day anyways.
well, that gets us to
I
our
guess
staff.
things could come down during the day as well.
That gets us to
Yeah.
our staff. I've had a couple phone calls from individuals about concerns about not having staff up there this summer. And that's a policy that the Parks Board is gonna have to discuss. We have it in the budget to put staff up there, a few people for a few hours a day. My recommendation is we don't staff it from 10 AM to 10 PM because our plan is not to put the lights back up. We have them, we have the lights. We just don't have a plan to put them back in at this time. Since it's late till 9 PM and there won't be staff up there in the evening. The main concerns I've heard, which is fairly accurate, is because the skate park was always fenced in. Parents were in the habit, some parents were in the habit of dropping their kids off and going on with their day, and staff was there. That is not an acceptable reason to have staff at the skate park, in my opinion. If we want to do a few hours a day while people get used to the system and it's busy and we need staff there anyway for maintenance needs and keeping things clean and having the rules, things like that, and rentals, that's something I'm comfortable with. But to have staff up there every day because people are getting dropped off, like that's not appropriate, no matter what. And that shouldn't have been the practice before either. Anyone who's a minor shouldn't have been at the park alone, unsupervised. So those are the things I need to know. I basically need to know today the fence length, what we want to do, and I need to know exactly what we want. So when I get quotes, I know out of that 40,000, what we absolutely want to get done. Out
So
of
the
this.
city fund is paying for the fence
Windows.
and the fence.
No.
That got transferred from the beach over though, didn't it?
Yes, part of it, yes. So the fence will be paid for too, that will come out of the donation. That's correct, yep. But that's assuming we don't do a zoning fence tonight. That's assuming we don't do a project on there. So that's what I'm looking for on the Parks Board, is how do we budget that 40,000? What are the items on here that we say we absolutely want? And then move forward, if we can't have it all.
What is Evergreen said about having trees in the middle of the park?
And
They don't have any
specify.
recommendation.
I
My
never
concern-
asked though, to be
Yeah,
fair.
my concern with the trees is the line of sight. You know, when people are moving around, if you have a tree, you don't see who's in front of you. I think that poses a safety concern and that should be prioritized over providing shade.
Yeah, I would be
Keeping in
worried
mind
about
that
that
it
too.
would be the
and-
trunk that would be in your line of sight, not like a big wide.
Right, I mean, I just don't,
Canopy would be-
I can't envision how big the trees will be, but if they're gonna become bigger.
Also, I forgot to mention that it is sleeved, but DPW will likely get quotes on irrigation instead of doing it themselves, and that's gonna be likely a large chunk of that donation will be irrigation.
And do we have to pay for that?
Yes.
So I agree with your comment, Sarah, and then Dick's comment, on the fencing. But I am worried about those trees on the skate park. I just remember my son being in skate park all the time. And an obstacle like a tree for some kids, especially, kids are on bikes and they're on skateboards and on skates, could be a problem. Because I don't know if we want to deal with the maintenance of the leaves falling in the middle of the skate park, if there's some kind of soft, some of the pictures you showed, where it's a grassy area, maybe some color could be in some of the, I mean, you're the landscape architect much more than I am, but, add some color into the park without being an obstacle, like a tree might be.
Let's take the trees out. I think these are all really good points.
Kind of makes me worried.
I think of, what's the name of that little run at Nubs where little Billy Mulder went off
Oh,
avoiding somebody, which could happen, avoiding somebody here and smacked his head in a tree, onto a tree. So let's take them out.
All the other plantings along the skate park are soft, like iron, things like that, that if someone went off, they're gonna damage the plant before they damage
Yeah.
anything else, so there's no.
So I have a comment
Yeah.
on the lower west side, the bowl that comes out.
This one?
Yes,
Mhm.
this is where the youngest children go. And I have noticed a number of times driving this winter that that's where the moms stand. And the way the bushes are, will the mothers still be able to walk over there? Cause they're basically at the bottom of that, looking towards the
Do
north.
do you think just leaving a gap for a bench there would make sense? Cause we've discussed that.
Well,
over
I
here
mean,
as
they're
well.
just, like two moms watching under 5-year-olds skate there. And I've seen it
Do
multiple
they just like
times.
follow them around the park then?
They don't go around the park, they stay in that bowl. That bowl was specifically designed for, 3 to 5-year-olds.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yes, it originally was on the eastern side, but then it changed to the western side.
We could take these out.
You know which ones
The
I'm.
problem is it's a very steep, fall off from there, and there's 4.5 feet between the fence and the concrete of the state park.
I think we could alter it in a way though, where we could have a place for them to
Like have an
stand.
opening.
Yeah, we could have.
Just for the moms can walk down there.
As far as maintenance of the hard surface, just a leaf blower can be used. Who maintains the pickleball courts?
To be honest, a lot of the pickleball players do. They bring their own blowers or we've left, yes, and they do it. I mean, Nate did it in the past. A lot, and that was part of the reason we were taking down those trees along those pine needles and things like that. And when we replant them a little further off, so it's still a buffer, but not right on top of them.
So Rachel, you said that we have a $40,000 budget up to 500,000, is that right? So how was it that you came to that? Did you, decide the remaining part will all be needed for Kiwanis?
So no, so I priced it out to the anonymous donor.
Mhm.
And they were hesitant to put money towards, they wanted the full funds to go towards Kiwanis.
Okay,
And then they decided, that a portion of the funds could go towards the skate park. So I think it's our due diligence and best, out of respect, to leave the budget I gave them of 40 to 45
okay,
and do our best with that.
okay.
Then we have to phase to it, then we do. But with DPW installing the fence and moving some things around, with the city, like it'll be doable. Yeah, I just want to make sure we get done by June, what we absolutely want to have done. Fence, the irrigation, the plantings. If we say everything, on the Bay Bluff side, we say, well, that's a phase 2, we can wait. We're not doing the trees. Like that's completely doable. But we need to work,
Not an expensive plan. The biggest
Yeah.
cost is gonna be the hardscape.
right, and the irrigation.
And Cubs quoted it, did he
We
say?
didn't re-quote it, but it's around 7,000. It's around that,
For that whole thing?
yeah.
Wow.
And DPW will put the drain in. So I'm not worried about going over budget.
Mhm.
But it's something we have to get moving on, because we need to do a ribbon cutting in June, so I need to let the landscapers know what our plan is, so I can get quotes that are accurate.
So
That's also site furniture too, if we wanna order extra site furniture.
Okay, the hardscape, is it, you mentioned maybe putting texture in it or a pattern. Can we color it, just differentiate it from the cement and the skate park?
So,
I could answer, Rachel. I'm not a big fan of stained concrete for the reason that it doesn't last.
Mhm.
So you get wear patterns and then it just looks really tacky.
So it'd be better optic textured and.
also, if you have to replace a piece, it never matches.
Oh,
And most of the online sites, when you look it up, for skate parks, they say that the texture will pretty much do it. Like when you have that difference and it's not as comfortable to ride on, and you're always gonna have kids around rollerblades, rolling around a little bit. But for the most part, it's not comfortable enough to use as a skate surface.
Rachel, do you want to see if you can find a picture of the swirl concrete finish?
Not right now. I'll send it out later. I don't know, here, I can my browser.
no,
Um,
sense.
But it's basically just a swirled, like they did instead of the brush
Uh-huh.
finish.
Okay.
One other comment, when we've been up there, we've noticed a lot of residents that sit in Bay Bluffs and watch what's going on in the skate park. And so just whenever we're considering,
Don't block their view.
don't block the view. Yeah, it's fun. They like wave at the kids and stuff.
I just don't know what's gonna pull up. You never know on Google. But I don't know if that's, never seen it. Cups was talking about it, but he said it will change the texture.
Cool.
I guess it is. I'd rather see like exposed aggregate. I think that's so pretty. But he,
I agree though, that might be too rough. When you have younger kids putting on rollerblades and skateboarding, like you don't wanna make them uncomfortable. It's just enough to make it not comfortable to not make it a roller rink is really what we're looking at. It's like, it's naive to think that people aren't going to skateboard and scooter and do, I mean, they're going to. So there's not much we can do about that.
I used to have aggregate at my house in Grand Rapids and it all, like, rocks always sloughed off and it was kind of a hard, it was a maintenance issue with
Those-
that.
And if we put enough picnic tables there, like picture, those picnic tables are heavy. Like, that's gonna take. Someone really wants to move them, they can, but I would be surprised if they put in effort to do so. So,
so just another thing is we're gonna see how this all comes in, and I think we are gonna bid it out, Rachel, is that what you said?
get quotes. Won't
Get
be
quotes
sealed bid.
anyways. Yeah, worst comes to worst, though, we could have a planting day here. So,
And DPW,
it's not that much, these are all like plants that are gonna come in like, at most a 5-gallon bucket, so. They'll be planted in topsoil and then mulched, so that'd be another reason maybe to have somebody there in the morning to just like. If somebody goes into a planting bed that and there ends up being some mulch on the concrete.
You also asked about the fence, and I do agree with what Dick said. I would like to see it fully extended. I think aesthetically it's nicer. Or if it's not, if there are openings, for sure, a skateboard or something will find its way through there. So I think it'd be better to make it a full fence.
so from here where this fence ends, oops,
Yes.
down to here. Okay. That's fine, just need to know.
Does
right now.
anybody have an opinion other than that?
You can control the exposed aggregate, like a good contractor can make it as rough or as smooth as you want.
Oh, that's a good point.
So that, I mean, it does look nice.
I think that doing the fence as much as you're gonna wanna do it, it makes sense now, because if you wanna add on to it later, you might not have the same look and feel as you do.
So
It's good.
my personal recommendation for top priorities would be the line along the pickleball courts and the patio, the actual patio, for obvious reasons, the fence, and then all of these plantings within, minus the trees. Would be where I would start. Sounds great.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so move, or did you already move?
That's right, I'll make a
Go for
motion
it.
to approve Rachel's plan of moving forward with the irrigation system, the patio, and the short plantings on the interior of the skate park. And the fence, thank you, and the fence.
I will second that.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Perfect, and thank you to Dana for doing these drawings so
Thank you.
quickly, because we changed them sometimes. The other piece of this is we have, I'm not gonna say an exact number, but we have a few thousand left to do a donation recognition. And then whatever the Swartout family would like to do for their son. And those are things we'll also have to move very quickly on to have accomplished. We'll talk about that at our next meeting.
Just one more point too, Rachel and I were in the building and it's really cool in there. So there's like a big hallway, and there's bathrooms, and then there's a big room that kind of reminds me of the big room up at Kiwanis. It's got like an island, like a bar in there, and we were thinking this could be so fun. We could do like pizza night at the skate park, we could rent it out for birthday parties. Yeah.
That's a good idea. I know it's early yet, but, setting a dedication date. Are you looking at middle of June?
Middle of June is the goal.
Are we gonna, yes, let's talk more about that, because is it gonna be like a little party with a barbecue?
That's gonna be
or
massive.
a massive
It's
party?
gonna be a massive party, because we have to invite a lot of people. Like, we have a very
Yeah.
long donor list to invite.
I have a lot of
So,
people.
yeah, it's not gonna be a small ribbon cutting event, and that's why I apologize for the next meetings, I'm gonna push us to make decisions very quickly, because it's not something we can talk about for meetings and meetings and meetings.
So let's put this on for next
Yeah.
month's agenda, okay? Great, but it's gonna come fast.
The only thing we need to put on for the next month's agenda is the donor recognition.
Next month is April, do we wanna start talking about this party though?
No, let's do the donor recognition. With the party, I pretty much have a good understanding with the family, what they'd like to do. I think we should leave it kind of up to them on what their thoughts are, and ribbon cutting is pretty standard, so we'll talk to them.
Do you have a date already, so
We're just looking for mid-June.
is that something we can talk about next meeting and solidify?
Yeah, let's wait to get quotes to see what the timeline will be for this before we say publicly we have a date and then don't have a timeline then, but hopefully I'll have quotes and a timeline by then.
All right, any other comments on the skate park?
Looks great.
We were talking about painting the fence, was that separate from the skate park?
No, well, we'll do it, but I don't know when, yeah, and it's gonna be volunteer to my help.
If I'm around, I could.
Are we talking about painting the fence? Are we talking about painting the fence? Rob and I are gonna do it. We're gonna spray it. DPW has a sprayer.
Okay.
So we're gonna spray it. So it'll be done in April.
So it won't be, so it'll be
I
less of
spoke
a
to
sea
Zach.
of galvanized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rob is our seasonal maintenance gentleman and he is unsure if he'll be back for the whole summer, but he did tell me today, because I begged him, that he would come back in April to help with the inside of the skate park building with anything we needed and to help paint that fence.
Good.
Yay, Rob. So, we have him for a couple weeks. Well, that'll all be done. Perfect. Anything else?
Should we move on to the beach?
Yes. Let's do it.
What did you want to talk about staffing?
Well, let's talk about that at the next meeting as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something we may not have more information on until we see quite how busy it is. But I did want to lay it out there that the budget item is still there. So if we do notice a really heavy increase, and we think people need to be there, we do not need to panic. The money is there.
Okay.
All right.
We could start with volunteers, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it next month. Okay, City Beach Playground. So here is the old equipment in the sand at the beach. Oops. So where are we now, Rachel? I think this is all gonna be installed at the Coastal.
Going up to Cozaquat Park with the wood chips.
So the sand's gonna come out, so it'll be much safer there. And some of the older equipment's gonna be painted, some's gonna be taken out, and then the old beach equipment, which is newer, will go in. Okay. All right, so just to orient you, here is the water line here, here is Bay Street up at the top. Here's the bathroom building here. There's an opening in the gate right here. And there's a fence that runs along, picket fence that Denny put in along here where there used to be the cedar hedge. So this is our playground, and do you have the picture handy for what it's gonna look like? Okay. And the dash line here is the fall zone. So our playground consultant Doug has recommended we stay a couple feet off the fall zone with any hardscape or plantings or anything. So that's what we tried to do. We like the idea of trying to connect the playground with the building. So this is gonna be a little patio plaza area here. So you can come in through the fence. These are picnic tables, bathrooms are right here. And then this is gonna be like a little raised up retaining wall that might be maybe a foot, 18 inches, something like that. It's really nice looking. Do you have a picture from Cups, that email?
I'm not gonna get it.
Cast concrete, but it looks a lot like stacked stone.
It's a smaller version of the Ready Rock. For the wheelway, like the in place that you put down, smaller version of that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe another like in that.
And the material under the fall zone, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the material on the fall zone is wood chips.
Synthetic turf.
Oh, it's a fake turf. Rubberized underneath, is that?
No, it's a foam layer underneath,
Okay.
yeah.
The bottom layer is like compacted aggregate. It's like a putting green, basically, synthetic putting green. I'm not a huge big fan of it because of plastics in the environment and
Stay away from that.
but that,
Stay away from that discussion.
yeah, but there just are not great choices. The other choice would be poured in place rubber, which also has its downsides, and then wood chips, which just seems like they'd be all over in the sand. So this was, I guess, the lesser of the evils. So,
There'll be another one, please. Oh, wait, I think I found. There we go. We're good.
So the way the construction will go will be, here's the opening in the fence. First, this wall will be put in. And then John Cups will pour the concrete here. And then we're gonna have a little concrete from the parking lot over here, so that maybe a little bit of sand gets knocked off before it ends up in the synthetic turf. We're gonna have 2 concrete pads here for benches to go on, so parents can watch their kids from within this area. And then I think this will be really nice, it's right by the bathroom, so, wait for your kids while they're in the bathroom, or, just to hang out while your kids are on the playground. Let's see, so are we ready to look at plans? I think so. This is again, just bright, sunny, in keeping with our new plan of butterfly weed at all the parks or some type of milkweed. Yeah, this is a smaller fountain grass here. These are all going to be kind of low, so they're not blocking any views, just sort of a visual thing. These are all going to be pretty tough, so we're going to find out how the foot traffic on them goes. Hopefully kids are not going through them, but going around them. Lavender, and this is just Happy Returns Daylilies along with fence in the back. That's it.
When will they do the concrete? When will they start it?
Well, the playground's going in the middle of April, so it'll be,
No, the playground's gonna go in, beginning of May now.
okay. So April, at long last. I
So
do
the
have a,
entrances to the playground will be, there's gonna be a wall. And the kids, I'm just trying to visualize, so there's a ramp, where's the
oh, no,
ramp?
that's a question mark there.
Okay.
That's a TBD.
So are kids hopping over this wall to get into the playground?
You guys can pass that around. Well,
So there'll be a,
the top of the wall will be level with the patio area. And so I just had a question of like, do we want to have a ramp there? So it's 80, right now it's ADA from the parking lot into this area, which is good. But then if this is a little step down for regular kids, I don't know whether like a kid in a wheelchair would go out this way or what we want to do about that. So that's all everything.
so we had, before this, we had a pathway coming off here, just right onto the turf. So it left sand here and sand here. And those are the visuals you all saw before. So we deemed that didn't make a lot of sense because no one's gonna be sunbathing here in that little patch of sand. So
I love that.
yeah, so Dana's thought was to make it even more ADA friendly and have more of like a patio feel. It kind of opened up the space more, was to have this. So Cups just got this today. So he hasn't measured like how to get the ramp, but yes, there won't be just like a tall wall where kids are like, I get what you're saying, so that is what it looks like.
Well, it'll be
Yeah,
all at the same grade.
yeah.
So
And
it's
then-
just, I just don't know if we want a ramp there. Or here's another idea, if I could see this, Rachel. maybe the wall can end here and this just gets graded up so the sand meets the concrete.
That's likely what will happen.
I think that-
Otherwise, the
that's a
wall
good
would have
idea.
to be,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the playground, under the playground, that's flush with the patio, that's the same, it's all the same height. Yeah.
And on the left there, is that presumed to be another entrance to the playground?
Yeah, there's an opening in the picket fence
Yeah.
there.
In the middle of the park, in the parking lot space, like in the middle there.
Have you considered making that larger so there's, otherwise is all the entrance to the playground gonna be on this side?
Yeah, we would have
This
to
is-
pave,
This is 6 feet wide. Yeah.
yeah, so we would have to pave more to have that be a bigger entrance and make it ADA, I should say. We can open it up, but then we have the issue with sand. So the
We
wall,
also have this ambiguous strip here that's just sand right now and weeds at certain times. And ideally, you know, this would be a little sidewalk sometime in the future. There's a little skinny one kind of on the other side.
It just seems like if there's not a larger entrance on the left to play, like to access the playground, that patio area is gonna be the high traffic zone of people moving in and out.
So
I
this
think
could
you
be,
look-
oh, you're saying, oh, make this wider here.
Longer, yeah, so there's
Yeah.
bigger entrance to the area,
We could do that.
unless you're trying to just have one entrance, one exit.
not necessarily.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think it needs to be bigger.
I think the other thing is people end up parking down at that end too, because you can't get parking closer on the east side. So recognizing that, if we could even concrete it, that would be, I think, more ideal. For people,
Concrete,
you know, play entrance there.
oh, it's gonna be, yep,
It will be.
yeah, so
concrete.
it'll be, yeah, the
On the
parking
left
lot,
side
yeah,
too will be concrete, good, for people, you know, ADA compliance and so on.
yeah, both sides.
And the plants are hardy, right? I can just see my kids diving
These are
over,
the
yeah.
toughest ones I could find, so we'll find out.
Okay.
We're not gonna do irrigation or run a drip line off the building. We need to, have the lifeguards water. Staff water.
There actually is light here, so if kids are playing later, I guess in the summer it stays light later. So one thing we still have to figure out is I think the two lifeguard stands are right about here.
Can move them a couple feet, but if we move more than that, it changes their zones. And that's complicated.
They're already removed.
Yeah,
The
I mean, we
benches
can
are-
remove them, yeah.
It's
like
already
benches and
removed.
stuff. And like I said, the lifeguard stand can be moved within reason,
Mm.
but if we're moving it over 5 feet, that changes their area of watch. How far out does this come compared to the?
If you scroll, can you go to the next slide? This is sort of, the next slide is kind of where we started. So this actually comes out to the end of the building here. So this comes out further than the other one for some reason. And then I think if we were to look at the aerial photo, if you have that, Rachel.
So this is where the lifeguard.
So they're kind of at even with the edge of the building.
Mhm.
Are those benches?
Yes.
So it takes out the benches.
It doesn't go beyond the edge of the building. No, I don't.
No, it doesn't go up past here. It just barely takes out those benches.
So here's what it looks like on this plan. Something like that.
The big portion of the beach. It's not a very highly used portion of the beach. I can't imagine people are sunbathing behind those benches. Never seen it. But when you look at it like this, it's a big chunk of our beach space.
So it's not very deep, you know, it's, and the sand is not deep to the waterfront either. That's why it's not used for sunbathing as much.
Yeah, this is the bigger part up here. Can you zoom out for a minute? So this was the hard question was take up some of the beach here or take up some of the grass area here. I guess we're not gonna second guess.
Can we go back on this? I don't think we can do anything with that. We just gotta move forward, right?
Yeah. Well, the playground used to be there, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
historically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Historically, you
Yeah.
have people who remember it with a playground.
Right.
So.
Think once it's in, well, I know once it's in and it's landscaped, it'll be like it's always been there. It's no different than anything else you do in your community. You know, it's change is difficult, but we know by after some time, you know, ultimately, this
This
is
whole
what,
area is used for so many things, and this is where Bill Mulder writes this, because he hates to sit in the sand. So I still feel good about this.
I think you can feel good about it as a former parent of kids who played there, plus it's next to the bathroom and
Yep. You watch the
and
kids
playing
go
and
down.
having to pee really fast are things that everybody's parent has seen.
Yeah.
So I think that you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
I think the patio will help.
Here's another
as
good
well.
thing about it too.
That's a nice touch.
Is here it is, right? Here's the opening fence, so it's beautiful space right here. So across the street is the rooming house. So it's not really getting in the way of anybody's view.
Not that we're worried about anyone's view. That's not how we make decisions on the parks board.
We have a lot of history with it.
Careful.
Not gonna
But yes, it is nice,
It's a done.
but it's not
We're done.
necessarily in front
It's
of
done.
things.
I think it'd be fun, once it gets in to talk about if we want to have like a grand opening or something like that.
The other really nice thing about the patio space is we could put tables with umbrellas up to create shade, because we're never gonna plant a tree there. That's not going to happen.
Good idea.
So, that was a big pro to it as well.
Good.
Great.
Any other comments?
Do we need
So
to?
originally, my, question was safety from the cars in the parking lot, and I think we have addressed that.
Yeah, with the
Yeah,
buffer,
yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, when it was
Yeah, I
over
added
here,
that.
it was, parents were gonna have to keep a close eye, and they will here too.
I see a motion and move forward.
I move forward on the plan we just discussed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Deanna, thank you for all your work.
Good.
on
You're
all of
welcome.
this.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
We will get the playground in. It's the last thing I ever do.
Oh, boy.
Rachel. Yeah. So, Little League. Didn't attach it to your packet, but I did print it for you. It's not very long, because contracts can be really long for bad reasons. So this is really just to say who's in charge of what. So there's some confusion. The city owns the property, Little League manages the field, who manages the fence? Who manages the shed? Who does the trash? Who does the recycling? So every year we play this game. So there's a new Little League president. I met with him and the vice president, and they were very open to this contract. Little League board has seen this contract, they've approved it. We can go through it really quick if we would like. And then I just need looking for the Parks Board to either approve, make changes, whatever we want to do, so the Little League can get their season going. So I based this off other municipality agreements and then kind of made it fit our scenario. The dates are in red because we'll put whatever dates make the most sense to make it a year contract that we'll review. Conditions for use. So what we're asking is 30 days prior to beginning the facility use, they turn in their financial statement, their list of board of directors, addresses and phone numbers, proof of insurance, proof of 501c3 nonprofit status, and a schedule of dates, tryouts, practices, games, tournaments. It's not necessarily to approve the tryouts, practices, it's just so we know what's going on. So if someone calls and says there's something going on in Little League, I don't say, I don't, so it's one of those.
Are we gonna get the list of Little League board members?
Yeah, well, the parks, yes,
I mean,
yes,
We get
it'll be
it.
public, yeah, I'll bring it.
What's your thought there, Dick?
Pardon?
What's your thought on that?
If I have a complaint, I know who to go to.
Okay.
I've been involved in these kinds of contracts. I think this is very good.
So I do want it to be very clear that the Parks Director reaches out to the Little League board, not board members. It's a contract between the Parks Department and the city and the Little League, not necessarily the Parks Board. So if, just for instance, Dana goes up there and says, oh, something's happening and I'm not like a big fan of it, Dana would reach out to me. I would then have the list of the appropriate person, because they're gonna have, and it goes through the agreement, they have a point of contact. Actually, the next thing, that worked out well.
Well, in all fairness, though, somebody as a private citizen could call a board member.
It could,
In the same way private citizens call us directly.
yeah, but I don't give out your phone numbers. That's not appropriate.
No, I'm just talking,
Yeah,
I've got on
so,
any topic,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the point of contact, and that's why this is in here, the Little League designates one person who be, and an alternate person to be the point of contact. So that's the person I would directly go to. So I'm not even going to all, I mean, there are 12 board members. Like that's, there's no way that's efficient communication. So there's a specific point of contact. That point of contact is responsible for basically getting everything to the Parks Department for the season. And managing any communication needs that we have. They were also open to attending a Parks Board meeting yearly and doing a report to us, for updates, things like that.
I have another question.
Yeah.
They talked about Little League diamonds. Are they considering a 90-foot diamond as part of the Little League?
No,
Who's responsible for that? The
they
city?
would be,
Pardon?
anything within the fence lines is the Little League.
But what about the 90-foot diamond?
The school diamond.
That's a school
The
diamond.
school diamond, oh, that's the schools. We don't have a contract with them, or we don't even have a contract for the football field. And what happens there, that would be a separate.
So they're
separate
responsible
contract.
for all the maintenance.
Yeah, and they do all the maintenance. I believe they do the trashes, everything within the field lines, everything, and that's even separate from the Little League. And that's why I say the park is complicated. Because the concession stand is also the school, but the Little League uses it, but it's on city property, so we turn the water, like, it's just a complicated structure to work through. Any questions on the point of contact?
No.
Okay. For the Little League, the Little League will be granted priority use for the facility by the city of Harbor Springs on a per season basis. Season is defined as practices in our games. The Little League cannot legally allow other leagues, teams, or individuals use the facility in exchange for a fee or other goods or services. Basically, like a travel tournament can't come to the Little League and say, I want to use your fields this weekend. The league can't okay that. That has to come through the city. The Little League allows outside leagues, teams, or individuals use the facility. They will lose a recognized status and potential loss of priority user status, which can affect field allocations. And again, that's just to protect ourselves that it is just for Little League use and nothing more. Maintenance. The city may designate downtime for maintenance, regeneration, and or emergencies. The city mows, trims the park and non-field areas, in the playground, responsible for trash pickup, refills, mud mitts, maintenances all sidewalks and parking areas, turns on, shuts off, controls, and maintains all irrigation within and not within fields. That means the Little League can't say it's a really dry season, they turn up the water. They don't touch the irrigation system. All brush and tree removal is also the city. So that would leave the Little League mows and trims within and around all field fences, maintains fields and dugouts to safety standards, collects recycling, maintains all practice areas, remove nets when season is over, maintains shed with a proper lock, nothing to be left outside of shed unless approved by the city. They can't leave hoses, anything else sitting against the shed, and there has to
Rachel,
be.
I have a question. How did it work out that the city has to pick up their trash?
Always been the system, but they don't have a dumpster up there. So when we do the skate park trash, we grab the Little League trash and then we take it up to our dumpster. which I'm okay with keeping.
Will you get a schedule of the school events on a 90-foot basis?
No, not unless we had a contract with the school, which we don't.
But there's a safety issue there.
Yeah,
balls flying over the fence.
yeah, so we will have to work on a contract with the school for all the facilities that we share, or not share, but work with them.
I commend
I
you
have a
for doing
question.
this. I think this is great.
Yeah,
You
this is
really
really
dug
good,
into this.
but I don't know the first thing about it. So we do have an expert on the board. Dick, do you feel like you've had enough time to look at this?
Oh, I did. I think it's a pretty good contract.
Okay, good.
And the Little League knows it'll be reviewed annually for edits. So they're open to that, the Parks Board will review it, their board will review it for anything we need to amend. Parking is the big one. So, whew. So parking is allowed in designated areas only. No parking on grass or driving on trails. Vehicles illegally parked are subject to towing. Overflow parking is at Ottawa Stadium. There's a lot to this, so bear with me. So along Lake Street, there is no parking along Lake Street if you drive in Harbor Springs.
Right.
That is standard. Along the Little League, they do allow it because there's a little patch I always thought was a parking lot, but apparently was grass that now looks like a parking lot because people have parked on it. I personally am okay, so with Kyle Knight, so was Lucas, with still allowing them to utilize that as a parking lot. What we will be adding are no parking signs along Lake Street there, just like they are down the rest of Lake Street. They can still park on Hoyt. And then the other area is Harborview Park, there'll be no parking on grass. There's a little space that I guess they didn't want to put a parking spot when they designed that parking lot, I can't tell you why, but no parking in that space. The reason for that, and I was very clear with the Little League, it's not as a punishment, it's not anything, it's just the skate park is going to be very busy. And the pickleball courts are busy, and we're adding amenities and we're making things, we're updating things in that park. And we can't hold skateboarders, you know, we can't say like, you can't park on the grass, or even at Kiwanis, we don't allow disc golfers to park on the grass. You know, we say towing in their signs, so it has to be consistent, and I'd rather get on it now rather than halfway through the season. The Little League's on board, they're gonna help enforce it. I did reach out to the schools, and Brad, the superintendent, gave the okay to use the Reynolds Field as overflow with the Little League. It's not in the contracts, that's school's property, and I can't put that in there, but we did okay that. I let the Little League know. Their other option is they can drop off, you know, grandparents, supplies, whatever they need. That's appropriate. Then they can park at Ottawa Stadium and take the spillway to then walk up, which I know is not ideal, but that's the system in place.
The park over by the soccer fields too is
Correct.
allowable. That's good.
Yep. Good. So Kyle Knight, has gone over this parking, with myself, Kyle, Steve, Chief Knight, Steve, the Little League president, and I will meet this spring before the season starts to discuss it. But I believe that that's gonna be the most difficult part of this contract.
Rachel, has Jim Raymer looked this over?
I sent it to him for him to look over, yeah.
I don't see anything about bathrooms in this contract,
Because we don't run that concession stand.
but with the Little League, the amount of use that's there, are they responsible for putting a porta potty or something up there?
They choose to, yes, but they weren't open to spending more. I can ask him. But yes.
It's a serious
Yeah.
issue. You're bringing hundreds of people there
So
on a
they're-
regular basis for practices and games, and there's no public restroom.
So they're working with the school on the concession stand to have an agreement there that's more solidified, so I'll ask if he got anywhere there. And I can bring that up, and we don't have to approve this tonight, we can wait, I mean, we've gone this long without a contract, it doesn't need to be before May, I'm not overly concerned. Because my other,
Or what did they do before?
You take your kid pee in the woods.
Okay.
It's terrible.
yeah,
Yeah. That's not good.
yeah, it's not good, and people have requested that parks put a porta potty in. And I'm hesitant to do so because I don't find that to be our responsibility to pay for that. And to deal with it,
I mean, they're not paying to use the property.
correct. And then the skate park restrooms are usually open, and I know people use those when they are open. Our skate park restrooms aren't designed to take on the skate park, the pickleball courts, the school, you know, and the Little League. We're gonna have a maintenance disaster.
Would it make sense to require them to have a couple porta potties every year?
I think that makes sense. Unless they have a contract with, and they're gonna keep those bathrooms open for practices and games.
I'm gonna park on Pine Street in his house.
Yeah, I'll put it up. $10, $10.
Yeah.
And it is
That's why
something we'll have to
you-
watch in the spring, is one,
Oh.
but Chief Night, what my concern would be with parking is
You're
people
wrong.
will park on Hoyt on both sides. And it's gonna make Hoyt Street a bit.
Yeah.
So that is something that we're aware of and that we will watch to make sure that we don't create a new problem by trying to correct a problem. So that would be that concern. And I'll add the Porta Johns as well.
In the contract?
Well, I'll talk to the Little League before I add it in, but I'll say that's a hesitation to approving it this evening.
The Porta Johns or access to the bathrooms, the concession that the schools have, one or the other,
Yeah.
right?
For practices and games.
Are there any other questions or concerns with the contract? Because we can make a motion to approve with that change, if they're willing to make that change, and if they're not, then I bring it back
I'll make a motion to approve that contract.
with the Porta,
Pending.
with the, yeah.
With adding 2 porta potties?
Or access to the concession bathrooms.
Yes.
I'll second it.
It seems like that'd be kind of unreliable to expect somebody. to
Did you get a second?
Unlock it,
I-
for practice.
There has to be a solution.
And I won't say the concession stand has to be open, I'll ask for proof of a contract between them and the school, so it's very laid out.
Let's vote and we've got it there. Okay, update on Harbor Way, Nat Scott. So we could skip ahead, Rachel, to the Zorn Park fence.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm like 1,000 steps.
There he is.
Scott, we're voting on the Little League.
Scott, there was a motion and a second to approve the contract with the stipulation that they provide 2 porta potties or keep the concession bathrooms open during practice.
Yes,
Okay,
that's just where I went.
all right, all those, all those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed?
That's good to know. I was kind of wondering which
Motion
motion.
passes.
Do you want me to do the Zorn fence, or would you rather jump right into the wheelway?
oh,
It's up to you.
the Zorn fence is,
Okay.
shouldn't take long.
So the Zorn Beach fence, so we have discussed this numerous times. We had it as a capital improvement project for about $12,000 to $14,000 for harbor fence. And then we had said, well, maybe DPW can do something, so we kind of realized we needed a fence over the skate parks. We kind of moved that capital improvement project over to the skate park. So Dan and I have been down to the beach quite a bit in the past couple weeks. And we have the following options. So the first option would be the same fencing, adding more rope, so 2 more layers of rope across there. And I don't know, those images aren't the best, but there is a very large gap. So we definitely understand the concern. 2 more layers should close that gap a bit. DPW also, when they put up the new fence, tightened the rope quite a bit, so they don't like hang down. You can't really like pull them to get through. The second option would be black cast aluminum fence. The pros, DPW can install this, which reduces the cost. Pros, not climbable due to vertical rails. Cons would be it's not natural looking. If you're sitting on one of those park benches and that's in front of you, it's blocking a lot of what you're looking out at.
One more pro, and that is the type of fencing they have at Wallstrom's, that little side door.
Yeah, so it would match. The harbor fence, we still have that quote, like I said, it's estimated for over 12,000. It's a professional install. We'd be looking further out into the summer, if not fall. The pros, it's not climbable due to vertical tables. The cons, it's not natural thing as it is now. The boardwalk style fence is what we discussed at the last meeting, but we've done some more research on it between Cups and Lucas. So the pros is it's lower cost. We have some of that cabling. We can keep the wood posts for a more natural look. That's also a pro. The cons would be the cables are a quick facet. So they screw in to the posts, which means they're not weight bearing. They're aesthetic. They're not meant, like if you step on it, it's gonna loosen. And then we have to tighten them back up. And for me, the con, well, I mean, in general, is it's climbable. And that's kind of what they they look like. And that's what's on the board, well, similar to what's on the boardwalk right now. So staff recommendation, board discuss the following options. I make a recommendation, move forward with a specific style. Park director's choice, if board recommends moving forward, is option 1, is we trial it, add the rope for additional security, see how that goes for summer. I did speak to Lynn Ness, who is our lifeguard manager. There are no reports on the fence. There are no incident reports on the fence. The most incident reports we get down at the beach are the raft. By far, hands down, if we're talking safety, is the raft.
We were saying too that while we're trialing this, we could have the lifeguards, keep just a tick mark track of how many times they have to blow the whistle to get kids off the fence.
How many more ropes would you add to the current, because the current fence has 2 lines,
Probably
right?
add two, one in between each large gap, one at the bottom and one in between the 2.
Do we have any signage down there to tell them not to climb the fence?
There is a sign to not climb the rocks from when the water level is really low and people could get through there, but we can, there's a post there, so it wouldn't necessarily be adding a post to the sign, we could just add another small sign on
That's a
there.
good idea.
The other pro to this is we have discussed to council and to the community that we would trial things. This would be a good option to do so, to trial the rope and see how it goes. Like I said, I spoke to Lynn, who is our lifeguard safety manager, if you will, for down at the waterfront, and that fence wasn't a concern of hers.
That's good.
So
I remember you saying, Sarah, that your kids always would try and climb that, no?
Not climb it, I would see young kids by there with their parents throwing things in, and there's nothing to stop a little kid from falling.
do you feel
It's not
that
deep, I mean, it's not like it, but it's, you're falling.
there's a lot of rocks? Yeah. Do you feel adding the ropes would,
I think that'd be helpful, yeah.
and then have the lifeguards keep a look, add a sign,
Yeah.
do our due diligence there?
And keep a tally for the summer.
Yeah.
I need a motion.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve option 1 as described, adding more rope to the fence. And do we want to add the sign in there too?
That's fine, yeah, might as well.
Add an additional sign that says no climbing fence, the railing. I think it's more of a railing than a fence. Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
great.
Yay.
Very good.
Moving on, so the Harbor Way, Scott, has created a presentation that he will go through, in regard to the Harbor Way, which is the extension of Little Traverse Way into downtown Harbor. A little bit of background, the city, was working with Harbor Inc. back in 2018, I wanna say, for this project. And the idea is to recreate the spillway. It's about a cost of $800,000 to make that part of the wheelway. So we come past Bay Bluffs, down M119, and then switch back and then under. We are working with Beckett and Rader, which are the consultants for the city for planning, to create visual drawings of the project that show what the project would look like, but also what the project would look like with vegetation regrowth around it, like ivy around the fencing, things like that, so people can have a better look and gauge an opinion easier on the project. It's not really fair to survey the community when they can't visualize engineer drawings. So I will hand it over to Scott.
Okay,
There's no funding for that yet.
Well, is there 25,000 or something?
I think it's like 7,000 or something. Oh, sorry. There you
no,
go.
that's
Make it
okay,
Power.
really. Okay, so, a week or so ago, myself and Dana, we saw the first engineering drawings of the proposed wheelway extension, and we went up to the Shade Drain Park to take a look. And this is about what we learned. So this shows back around 1900. This is the exact property, and you can see that the bluff was much steeper at that time, and then there was a washout around in the 1920s that changed it. So this is the Shea locomotive, and he owned the property, and he would take his locomotive up and start cutting the trees and bringing them back down. Next slide. And there is a very large boulder there that it says Shea Memorial Park is the name of there at that time. And you can see here, this is where the wheelway, or not the wheelway, but the underground extension goes right now. Next. This is what the park looks like today, and what I want you to notice, this is the new house that's under construction here. And at this side, this is where the drain comes in. That's where the floodplain is. And so it is a more natural looking area. You know, it's not really the grass that we mow and things like that, but it certainly is a natural area. And this is the current entrance to the spillway. Next. And so we went up there and we looked, we parked up near the Overlook Park and then walked down a little bit. And the plan right now, already there's a sign here that says this is where bicycles go down to downtown on the sidewalk on Main Street. And then this is where White Street starts. And this is where, I'll show you in a minute, where this is 5 feet wide, but it'll be 10 feet wide, the wheelway. So they'll be cutting into the bluff, and then there is a wall and a fence starting there. Next. So Harbor Inc., if you go on their website, back in 2003, they did a very extensive study about how to develop the wheelway into downtown Harbor Springs. And at that time, the suggestion was to go down Beach Road all the way down. Then beginning, I guess, in 2008, they came up with the plan to bring the wheelway down into Shea Drain. Well, the MDOT wasn't in favor of it because they were worried about the floodplain. So the couple of years went by and they did different studies to say, how much is it flooding? Is it gonna be real wet? And is there a lot of problems? And then finally in 2023, MDOT said, okay, you can go down into into the tunnel because it doesn't flood that much. So then, I guess in 2023, the Harborway Committee began meeting to discuss fundraising and extension. And now that route has been finalized and approved by City Council. And next. This is what's, on the website where it shows that it'll come down here right next to the new skate park and then come here and then make a big loop and go underneath. And this is all that's available to the public at the present time. And then the next step that happened was Dan and I found what do you call those drawings?
Engineering.
Engineering
Yep,
drawings from Benchmark. And so we feel like if we're gonna try to do fundraising for $800,000 for a project, we know that the public needs to understand what it is. And from that overview photo, you can't really understand it. So tonight, I'm just saying this is the first step to try to learn and understand what's going on. And we think that to create a visual rendering, which we have in the process with Beckett and Rader, it'll be a 3D rendering, and to keep as much green space as we can, and also to create more green visual from it. Thanks. Sorry. So this is the plan, and the biggest thing I want you to look at is, see this dark black. So that's the wall. And the wall is between 8 to 22 feet high. And at the top of the wall is a 4-foot black chain link fence. The other thing that, is part of this too, that's over here by skate park, is there's, in the plan, it calls for a cement wall. And I'm not sure how high that wall is. We've asked, but I haven't gotten an answer back yet on how high that is. But this is the new house under construction. So this whole you turn right in here and then it goes, down into the spillway. And it's a 10-foot wide cement path. And then it has, walls that are made out of a ready brick, ready
It's
block.
nice looking, yeah.
But we recently learned that there is a 2-foot space where we can do planting. So next.
We're thinking Boston
Yeah.
ivy to green the walls up a little bit.
Yeah, so this, we started to learn about this, that there's multi-use concrete, there's 7,000 square feet. This ready rock block, there's 4,300 square feet. The chain link fence, there's 370 lineal feet. And, we also, through Benchmark, we asked them, they said, that the wall height varies from 4 feet to 18 feet, and the fence is 4 feet high. So you have 18 or 8 to 22 high foot fences. So, then we started to try to figure out what does that mean? And the wall is set back 2 feet from the edge so that you can do planting. Okay. So this is what ready block looks like. And I would say this picture on the right,
Playground too.
Yeah.
Picture playground.
this is more what it would look like. You see how this is a parking space, it appears. And this is maybe 6 feet high and then there's a 4-foot fence above it. And that's what ready block looks like. Here's another example of ready block. And what the next thing that we thought about is so how do we turn this into, be more green looking and more natural looking? Next. And so Dana really proposed this, that there's ivy that you can plant that will grow and cover that. So the biggest thing right now is we're waiting for Beckett and Rader to provide a 3D drawing so that people can visualize it. Because, some of you weren't here when the playground was first proposed, but, there will be people who will be here. And, we need to do our homework so that they understand, what potentially is proposed and what is part of this $800,000 estimated project that will be part of the next survey, correct? The first survey. So that's where we're at. Anything else on this? Yeah, so this is the current, where the spillway comes out at the bottom. And then this is what comes in front of City Hall currently, all right? And, hopefully this will be a discussion in the next several months before, we really have it out to the public. And then, they'll understand what it is.
Do you mind if I just expand some of the comments you
Yeah,
already made?
anything.
So, so this project was brought to council in 2018. I think it's really important to note that our current council hasn't had an update on this project, and that is something that will happen before anything moves forward. There is a Harbor Way committee that consists of, now Scott is a Parks Board representative, myself for city staff, the Trails Council, Harbor Inc., Ed owns the bike shop downtown, so there are many people involved in this project. Just to give you a little bit of other history, so Beach Drive was looked at. I wasn't part of the city when that was discussed, but it seems there was there was some landlocking involved, that it wasn't gonna be a possibility to put it through Beach Drive. The other possibility we looked at was coming across and coming down Hoyt, but that is too steep of a hill to make that turn safe. Another really important aspect, and this came from our city manager, and Dana, Scott, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So the reason these plans are so important and why it's important to go back to council and make sure everyone's on the same page and we get the visuals from Beckett and Rader and we're fundraising for this, is these are MDOT approved engineer drawings. Benchmark made them, but they had to be approved by MDOT. And to get MDOT to approve things, it can be a pickle. So, it's a big deal. if we change from these, I'm not saying like we can't, I'm not saying discussions won't happen, but it's not as simple as the city just saying, we don't wanna go through the spillway, we wanna cross M119, or we wanna change the wall height, like, we can't change any of these documents without MDOT's approval. And that's why I think with the political climate and just where the city's at right now, this project is going to take a lot of steps in time. Cause like Scott said, people have seen this, but it was back in 2018. And also it's very difficult to visualize. There's also the concept of it's technically a park space, but there's a committee already designated to fundraising and was designated before the Parks Board was created. So there are a lot of moving pieces to this project is kind of what I'm trying to say, and it's gonna be a very slow moving project. By the time we do it, it won't cost $800,000, let's put it that way. So-
1.6.
Yeah, that's the best way I can explain it.
Just one other little side, like, it is ADA accessible, that's one of the things that MDOT requires.
Yeah, it had to be 10 feet with the 2 feet on each side. There are a lot of stipulations for bike paths. There are a lot of stipulations just from MDOT. The other thing is the city pushed for the spillway. They did the hydraulic study, like they did the flood study, they did all that. So MDOT's not likely to approve another plan. Not saying it's impossible, but it's not likely. So I think it's really important that council and city staff have all their ducks in a row with a lot of visuals before we just say we're fundraising for this project in mass capacity when people don't quite understand.
So what you're saying is that we can't just bring it down the road here and come across the street,
Correct, no, we cannot cross M119.
because it crosses M119,
Right at this moment.
Okay.
That's not to say it couldn't be done.
but we already crossed M119 over by the airport.
Yes, that's
Right
right.
Yeah, so that was approved with the light through MDOT. But we can't, cause like a bunch of things were discussed back in 2018. I think like a roundabout was discussed when M119 has that blinking. MDOT will not put a light in there. I know a roundabout was talked about. I know crossing M119 a little bit was talked about, but they won't allow it. And they finally allowed for them to go under. So that's why I'm saying now that MDOT has finally approved this and the engineer drawings, like put stipulations on it, it would be rare that they allowed anything else.
So I have some questions.
Yeah.
Because I have carried my bike up those steps in the spillway numerous times and ridden up that hill and up Hoyt. So right now you come down Main Street. And that's where you access the spillway, the tunnel. So all that, the spillway, as it's on the drawing there, is that all city property there? Is that?
Yeah.
Because there is property adjoining that, you could see it if you go back a few pages. Cause I was up there
And those
last
in the
week.
photos or?
Yeah, the photos, like where it says Shade
Here?
Drain Park and Spillway Tunnel. So there used to be a trail right there. And there still is a trail right there.
There is.
Yeah.
And as I was walking through there with my grandson, I thought, why couldn't we do something with that? I know this is all put to bed, this is all speculation. But I really hate to see this turn into a concrete, big concrete walls. If there's a possibility of trying to use some of the existing trails to get people down to the spillway in a reasonable way without it being too steep. And I don't know if that was ever considered before or not,
Not sure.
because that's pretty massive. What's showing right there.
And I think that's why Jamie agrees that it should go back to council, which is fair. It's a whole new, I mean, since 2018.
Mhm. Right.
Like things need to be updated before, who's in charge of fundraising? Is it Parks, because Parks property? Is it, the Harborway Committee that's been established? And so there are people on that Harborway Committee that have put in a lot of work to this project.
Sure.
Over the years, doing studies and working with MDOT. But we need to make sure we're weighing.
I think a fresh look is good. There's gonna be a lot of trees come out and it's, a beautiful natural space and it's gonna be very, very different.
The other piece of this is this doesn't technically get you to downtown. The second piece to this would be Bay Street, which in staff's opinion will actually be the most difficult portion of this. I mean, this is an $800,000 project and this is about probably 600,000 of it, if not more. I mean, this is the bulk of where that comes in.
As you'll cross under the road, you still have to go the rest of the way, down
Yeah.
Hoyt to Bay Street.
Yeah, and don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure Judd Hill, when they redo it in the next month, is also Ready Rock.
Hmm.
So you'll have a good image of what it'll look like when they do that wall along there in the next month and close it off.
So are you saying that we can't really do much with this right now because of the steps it's already been through? Or is there an opportunity to suggest something, another way to look at it?
We met with Victor actually,
Yeah,
and he said, well, I guess we could go back to MDOT about putting a traffic signal at Lake, for example.
I think he said they would go back to Lake about a roundabout. They won't put a traffic signal in, like that's out of the question. I think the city has fought for that numerous times. We've also we talked with Victor about slowing that section down for crossing in 119, and MDOT is not open to slowing down any section. But the other thing with that is, so when you ask MDOT, let's say I want in front of my house to be 25 miles per hour and I want to slow it down. And MDOT comes and they do a study. Sometimes that goes the opposite direction and they'll actually raise the speed limit because they go off the study. Like whatever they find is where they fall. So they're not willing to do that as well.
So I would say there's two things I would encourage everybody to do. One is to go on the Harbor Inc. website and read about the history of this. It's in detail and you can learn about the 2003 study as well as this particular proposal. And the second thing is I would encourage everybody to visit it and, just kind of take a look and say, try to visualize, what this proposal is about and how is it going to look, but
He goes up there within 90 feet of Pine Street.
So to answer your question, Karen, is strategically, the Parks Board can't make a decision on this project. It was approved by council. We can't change anything. We can't move forward, go backwards. But my recommendation would be to take it back to council with those visuals from Beckett and Rader and kind of put that on council is, do we want to continue to move forward? Is this like an update? Who's in charge of fundraising, and kind of have it guide us, kind of similar to what we did at the boardwalk, because the boardwalk started before the Parks Board was born, if you will. And then we handled fundraising, but that was due to council telling us to do
Which
so.
project is this? Is this the Harbor Way project? Is this Harbor Inc.?
It's city land, but Harbor Inc. started the project in partnership with the city, but Harbor Inc. was like the main moving motion of this in the beginning.
That's the first place.
so potentially what could happen, the city council could say, I'm not really liking this that much, and you could get thrown out at that point, or at least our participation in it, but you could come back to us for looking at alternatives. Okay.
I think another key part of this too is if we ask a survey question like, okay, public, it's a great concept. Here's what it's actually going to look like. What do you think about this? I like it, I hate it, everything in between, and to have that input to give to council too, I think is going to be important.
I think it's important to note that we're going through a lot of changes.
And
We got-
who does this benefit primarily? Because if we're talking about a group of citizens that live within the city, how many are actually using it when we have other ways to access the city? Is the benefit for
Tourists.
and for our business? And if that's the case, does that need to kick over to?
So we would go to the DDA then to survey local businesses on their thoughts. I mean, there's no question that the economic impact from the wheelway is massive. The Petoskey, Charlotte, the surrounding area, like there's no question. They've done studies and studies. It's all on their website.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that, but I'm going back
Yeah.
as a citizen again.
Right.
Me living in the city now, and I know this is gonna be
Right.
fundraised, but there's gonna be city involvement in it somehow. How I'm paying for some of these features that are
I
going
think
on.
the question for like, if you're a taxpayer or you're a voter, is how do you want staff time dictated?
Well, that's
Do
exactly.
you want my staff time to go towards building the eastern portion of the boardwalk?
No.
Building Kiwanis up or doing this?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I think that's where their opinion is the most valid, because they're paying my, you know what I mean, like the means for city staff, and they dictate where our time goes for the most part. So I think that's really what I'm asking from council and citizens is, where does the Parks Board land in this?
Yeah.
You know, where are we focusing our energy? Because we can't focus our energy on 3 really massive projects, because we're not gonna do very well. Like, we do really well at things, and I wanna keep that system going.
I'd like to suggest that, we put this on the agenda. Why don't we wait though until we have the, review drawings done and then the survey question done? That might be, maybe a couple months, eh?
They said they would have them done by, late March, couple weeks into April, so hopefully it'll go on a council meeting after zoning is done. We'll do it.
Oh my God, they're gonna be done?
We'll do it after.
One other point I'd like to make is, the use of the wheelway has changed dramatically. I mean, I'm in Marina Park a lot of days. And there are dozens and dozens of people who are coming on e-bikes that could never ride a bicycle from Charlevoix or Petoskey. There are people that rent e-bikes and, you know, they come to a restaurant where I work in a private parking lot and they walk up the bike. I mean, that's deep. You know, I mean, so it's changed dramatically. Very few people actually, you know, come on a bicycle. So it's definitely an older people, and they come and they shop or they eat,
So I
that
think
type of thing, so, but
what we can make a
That's the reality.
motion on tonight is the Parks Board can make a motion that once we get the visuals from Becca and Grader, they make a recommendation that it goes on the council agenda as soon as possible. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And we have to get the survey back too.
Correct.
I don't think we need a motion tonight.
Right,
We'll,
that's
we'll
fine.
talk about
But that would be the only thing we could really.
If you're waiting till zoning goes through, it's gonna be late May. We're having a public hearing for zoning.
That's
in
up to
May.
council. How you guys.
I'm just saying that we're having a public hearing, the first meeting in May for.
I'll let Victor and
So
Claire
it's,
decide.
it's not gonna be on council until late May.
Yeah,
So, I'll find another
that's fine.
one. So it'd be like 20 feet of concrete,
10 feet.
but
10.
The path
10
is 10.
up and 10 back?
yeah,
Yes, well,
10-foot
the
wide,
switch
wide.
back, like
Right,
10 foot
10
wide.
foot.
250 feet up,
Oh, so it'd be-
250 feet back.
Okay, so just be one,
one bike path that loops.
does it do a U? So there's.
Yeah, it
so
does a
there's 10 feet
switchback.
on each side?
Yes,
So there's
so a
20 feet.
total of 20, yes, sorry, I wasn't understanding. Yes, the switchback, when it goes up, it's 10 feet out and then 10 feet back.
But they're not like right next to each other,
Yeah,
there's
there's
Right,
a great
it's just
space
a-
in between.
between.
Yeah,
And then
right, yeah.
how deep you go depends upon, you know, coming into the spillway.
Yeah, that's wow,
Mhm.
in that space.
Yeah. And it goes all the way up to just about to Overlook Park. You know, Shea Overlook, where that house
It's
is.
difficult to visualize, even for myself, who.
Yeah,
with
'cause I-
jails, it's, yeah, it's difficult to visualize.
So the part that comes down, the part of the wheelway that would be diverted in front of the skate park,
Yes.
right? That's all part of this?
Yes.
Is there any chance that would be done just to bring it down to the sidewalk to keep going, to shortcut that process so they don't have to come down? Why, because so it would replace the sidewalk coming down Main, right?
Yeah.
Until it gets
Yes,
to
yes,
the
correct, yeah,
spillway.
yeah, where the sidewalk is now would be the way, yeah.
You could take that a little bit further if you didn't want to do the spillway routine, if you wanted to just get people into town. They'd have to transition from that path to the sidewalk.
Correct.
That is an idea. So there is a crosswalk, it's just a little further west from Soul Street.
And just. So this could bring, I mean, I understand, especially for Ed,
Yeah.
but I mean, this could bring a lot of bike traffic, right?
Which bike traffic on Bay Street's heavy.
Chaos.
Isn't it?
So yeah, that's what I was wondering. It's like, yeah, create a whole.
The whole reason for this is to let people cross the road. I mean, basically safely. That's the whole reason for this.
Right.
A lot of expense across the road.
I mean, you have probably, yeah, you'd have to have a lot more bike racks,
Oh, yeah,
figure out a,
right.
Charlotte is doing a similar project,
Oh,
because they have
okay.
the same, I wanna say issue, situation, if you will.
right,
The wheelway stops just short of their downtown. They don't have the whole spillway effect, so I don't know what their project
Oh, no.
comes to. Yeah, so they're going through a similar situation where they're fundraising to also get the wheelway. I call Cocoa Park the Bermuda Triangle for the wheelway, because people are lost all the time when I go up there. They're like on their bikes. Denny did a really great job, the past park director, putting up signs that Scott showed to try and get them
Yeah.
to downtown, but most people are just like, where are we going here?
No, no,
Unless you're
yeah.
local, yeah, you're kind
Yeah.
of confused. So that's kind of the concept, to strategically and safely get them down there. But yes, there are a lot of questions that still need to be answered, what it'll look like and how we hide the industrial look of it, you know, all the change entering the city.
Rachel, I must suggest that we move on. We still got some things here. So when do we discuss it next? Should we look at the 3D drawings?
I say we take the 3D drawings just to council.
Well,
Right,
I think we can look at them as board first in April.
I know we're not gonna be making a decision on them.
No, but let's look at them in April. Okay, that's our next step on this, and then, let's see, so we're kind of running out of time here. What if we have an update on the survey committee, and then maybe, how do you feel about holding the program until next month?
That's fine.
Speech, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Okay, let's do, the survey committee update then.
Sarah, did you want your?
Yeah, I mean, last time we met, we took the information that John was able to provide to us and revisited the original questions that we had, made some edits, and Rachel was going to put together a draft and survey,
Yeah,
in Survey Monkey.
we want to go through it. Do we want to do that?
Can you send it to us on the committee?
Yeah.
Oh,
Only because I have to log into Survey Monkey, it doesn't let me export it as a draft.
Would it be
I-
allowed to
I-
screenshot it?
How we could screenshot it. I did
Yeah.
add the logic though, so like, long story short, it goes, where do you vote? And then there are the capital improvement projects, but that's only if you live in the city of Harbor Springs. So it logics you out if you click a township.
I'll look at it, because I can't remember if I shared the draft of the survey before I sent it out to my board.
Yeah.
I'll look.
Only update I have in regard to the survey committee is as staff, I'm not comfortable going to the other townships for cost sharing. I'm not
Besides
comfortable.
the two that we already have.
Besides the two, I'm not comfortable having that conversation with them. I'm not comfortable pushing it. I'm not comfortable even asking Little Traverse or West Traverse if they want to put it in their tax. Like, they are having struggles even finding staff to run their townships. Let alone, I mean, they were okay with the raises we did this year because they were higher than last year. They paid like Little Traverse and West Traverse should be on board. And I say we still ask the other townships, like in our survey, I mean, to gauge like where people are coming from. But to move forward and ask them to cost share at this time, I don't feel is appropriate.
But you're saying that you would still include all 7
Yeah,
parts of this
I think it's
whole
still
system?
important to know.
That's good,
Yeah,
yeah.
for the future, yeah.
No, I'd
So
like
we
to
can
know
make the
that.
final decision after we see what the numbers are in the
Right.
survey.
Yeah, but I'm glad to know that we still want to include the other
Right.
townships.
Yeah.
Because when you first told me about it, I didn't know you meant that. I'm glad.
Yeah, I still want to ask.
We originally talked about taking a survey to people in May, though. And if we wait till next meeting to discuss, will that still give us enough time to move forward in May?
Yes, the tax bills will go up in July though, in some of the townships, so that it's gonna be,
Rachel, what if you screenshot it and send it to everybody if that's not too much work so that we can be prepared to discuss it? Well, let's add that to April 2. That sound good to everybody?
Yep.
Good. Easter egg hunt, that is an immediate need to talk about.
so Sophia isn't here, but they have filled the eggs and Friendship Center is gonna complete them next week. We ordered the yard signs below. And then,
Those are cute.
yes, they are cute. They do a really good job, like a digital. We have 320 pre-filled eggs, just with little toys. And then I ordered, some candy. I also ordered stickers, like, seems fun to have different things. So my questions are, we have about 2,000 eggs, which seems about right where we've been in the past. My question, do we need more? And then I ordered more bags. We have 100 bags total. I already discussed that with Scott.
You did order some more of those?
Yeah, so we have
Okay.
100. Scott has an Easter bunny.
Yep, Aaron's gonna play the Easter Bunny.
So I have a flyer printed out that I handed out to all of you. I caught an error as soon as I set the first one down, of course.
Very cute.
But how
I
do
see
they
the posting
look?
already. Yep.
So we can get those posted.
With your question on the eggs, you know, Sarah has mentioned, and Maggie too, that this is spring break.
That was my thought, that maybe we
Yeah,
did
so I
need
don't know
more
if it
eyes.
makes
That would be my
So.
thought.
Not
is
this
it
year.
Spring break.
So then my second question is Sophia's gonna grab some people from the Key Club, but is anyone else planning on attending?
I am,
I can help.
I think we're here, yeah.
Sarah wants to come.
I won't be here.
It only lasts 2 minutes and
Yeah,
45 seconds.
Yeah, the difficult part is just putting out the eggs, and then it's pretty much
Yeah,
done.
Putting out the eggs is the only thing.
What'd we do the lanes?
I got string to do them, or like ribbon. Kind of
Like
thing.
marching
Like the
ribbon?
tree stuff that we used from Arbor Day. That tree
We
ribbon,
used
yeah, that
yellow
colored
tape
stuff,
last time, but
yeah,
whatever.
You weren't there an hour ahead?
yeah, hour ahead.
Was there some talk about doing something in between that and?
So the thought was, and Jamie brought up asking, reaching out to Margot for Holy Childhood, see if we could do Easter Bunny pictures in there to kind of hold people to Bowling on Main at noon.
The only thing is that the Easter Bunny needs to go back to work.
Well, that's okay too. I mean, it is what it is.
Even if there's like some kind of like coloring or any activity, because I think that if they don't stay downtown, they're gonna pick one or the other. I mean, they're so close.
The other thought was asking if Johans would allow coloring their Harbor Ice Cream, ask if Rocky, but I know they're like actually opening, I think, and getting ready for that, but I could ask if he's.
Where would we
I feel
supply
like you.
donuts or something?
They're already getting all that with the Bowling
Right.
on Main.
Yeah, Johan tells the Bowling on Main and they get donuts and hot cocoa.
Okay,
So
I
that's
think that the Easter egg hunt, has more younger children than
Mm-hmm.
the bowling. And the Easter Bunny, he's the only server at Small Batch that day, so.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, he needs-
and the officers will announce that the egg hunt's at 11 and Bowling on Main's at noon, so if we can get Rocky over to the building and do coloring or something, but I don't know if it's maybe for an hour, how we'd keep them busy. It all depends on the weather too. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's 55 and sunny, that's a totally different story than keeping people around if it's 30 and cloudy and snowing. We've had it both for the
Right.
Easter egg hunt.
It's too late to change the start time of the hunt to 11:30. It's too late.
Yeah.
anybody looked at the weather?
It'll
I'll
change
make it
too
the weather
many
this
times
month.
between
It
now
will.
and then.
Yeah. So wait,
For the next 10 days.
Meanwhile, we have a gale warning right now.
but the first year there was, sleet and no northern Michigan kids. It didn't bother them at all.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all local kids, they're all dressed in.
But- Other than that.
41
good
and
to go.
snow,
41 and snow on
Yeah.
on Saturday.
the 30th, right?
Yeah,
Which means there aren't gonna be that many people for Bowling on Main, probably
And
anyway.
it could change to 60 degrees within the next week too.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Maybe just make a note for next year that we maybe try and do the times closer.
I don't think it'll fall on Bowling on Main next year. Bowling on Main moves around.
Isn't it always?
it's usually April 1st.
Usually always April 1st. I don't know why it.
Okay,
That's
so
not
maybe we
bad.
just don't worry about it then. You okay with
I would
that,
think
Jamie?
in the future, though, if you've got that many people coming into town for a 3-minute activity, that we should look at doing something more.
Mhm.
But that's maybe for
as long
next
as-
January.
I
On
feel
the
like
agenda.
if
As long as
Rocky's
you're-
planning on opening anyway, it is worth reaching out.
Yeah. The director's report, I mean, I think we can pretty say we have questions on the director's report. We've all looked it over. I don't feel a need to go through it.
Alrighty. Does anybody have anything else they want to have out tonight? Okay. Good meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
And meeting adjourned.
Okay,
Okay.
right. Thank you.
Again.